Welcome to Bridging the Generation podcast. I'm your host, Malak Arif, and we are back with another amazing episode now. Before we even get started, I'm going to need you guys to get these likes up. Let's get some comment, engagement, support the platform. A lot of dope artists coming on, so I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to go ahead and knock that out right now. All right, excellent. Again, I'm Malak Arif. You're watching Bridging the Generation podcast, and today's guest, straight out of my hometown, Washington, D.C., we got DC ambassador, we got author, urban clothing designer, and this brother is one of the most influential cats that I've met this past couple of years, man. So, this is a good brother coming to the platform, man. He's doing a lot of great things in the community. He's definitely representing the culture. He's repping the city, man. So with all that being said, it's an honor to introduce the one, the only Mustafa Tariq. Let's get it. In the Generation podcast. I am your host, Malak Arif, and today I got one of my favorite people, man. One of my favorite people that I've met within the last 3 years, man. This brother is an author, DC ambassador, a hometown hero, man, an inspiration, man. I've had many, thought-provoking conversations with this brother, throughout this past year, man, and he never seems to amaze me, man. So with all that said, it's an honor to have to the Bridging the Generation podcast, the one, the only Mustafa Tariq, man. What's going on, brother?
I appreciate you. What's going on? Thanks for having me, brother.
Nah, man. Like I said, hey, it is truly an honor to have you on, man. And, brothers like you, we don't have, I look at you like the OG, man. I look at you like the OG. And when I say that, I mean that and as far as like being that brother that even brothers myself who's in their 40s, man, that we can look up to, man, and we can, you give us inspiration, man, not just, what you got going on as far as, your many different endeavors, man, but as a man and as far as like how you live your life, man, and the things that you have overcame. So we're going to talk a little bit about that shit, man. But First of all, man, I got to ask you, man, how's everything going, man? How you feeling?
Oh, man, I'm living the life, man. I love it. Every day I wake up, man, whether it's cloudy or the sun is out, I'm happy. Yeah. Because, it's just, your 24 hours is so much that you can do, with those hours throughout the day, man. I love it. My wife laughs at me all the time because she said, you love having activities every day. Yes, I do. I love to have an activity. You give me something to do, it makes you feel good,
Nah. No, where did that come from? Growing up here in DC, man.
Well, growing up in DC, it was always something to do. Like, when we were kids, we just hop on the bus, and find that's how your parents were back then. No doubt. They didn't want to see you in the house. You couldn't stay in the house playing no video games or watching TV. You had to get out of there, and I understand, somewhat the difference today, and people are more concerned about, we got some crazy folks out here, some perverts and things like that. But I understand. At the same time, we were a close-knit community back then. No doubt. The older guys, the older people in the neighborhoods, were looking out for you, so it was less of a chance that something was going to happen. Everybody know what you were doing. If somebody saw you, you could be all the way across town, and somebody saw you that knew your parents. And they would let them, hey, I saw such and such over here today. What's up? You know what I mean? So
that's a fact, man. So take me back, man. Like, what was Mustafa like, man, as a young man growing up, man? What did you aspire to be, man, before you became, the man that we see today, man? Take us back to like a young 12, 14-year-old Mustafa, man. What type of young man were you growing up here in the city?
Well, back then, I didn't grow up with a father, single parent household. So it was basketball. You know, we watched the Lakers was my team back then.
No doubt.
And you know, Magic Johnson, you know, players like that. We just stayed out on the basketball court all day. If you wanted to find me, you could find me on the basketball court.
Okay.
You know, that's what I did all day, every day. And back then, in junior high school, we had the rec centers. So you could go you could play basketball outside, and you go in the rec center. You could shoot some pool, play some ping pong.
Right.
It was always something to do, and that, you know, that's what we did all day. So growing up in DC, it was always something to do every day because that rec center was open every day. Or you go swimming. The pool was open in the summertime. You know, we hang out at the pool. It was just something to do. You wasn't gonna find us throughout the day.
Yeah.
Like, so that's how it was growing up. And then, you know, once I got old enough to work under Mayor Berry's Summer Youth Program, you couldn't tell us nothing. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, we had, you know.
I remember that first $300 check, man.
Yeah, we was getting that $330. It was $335 an hour. You know what I mean? But that was something else because all we was going to go right downtown F Street and go to Four Dudes, go to, you know, get some tennis shoes. That's all we spent our check on is tennis shoes.
No, I remember that, man. I remember those days, going downtown, the Red Foxes and Tippies and Cavaliers, and we could be all day talking about that. So
no doubt. That'll take up the whole. That'll take up the whole show.
So look, man, like, you know, you from uptown DC, man. So you know, growing up here, man, you know, have came across a lot of prominent, you know, brothers and sisters in this area, man. You know, what was some of the you know, the influences, you know, not just in your neighborhood, but just some of the brothers that you know that you have you know, that you were influenced by, you know, within the city, man?
Well, of course, Mayor Berry.
No doubt.
Mayor Berry was like
mayor for life.
He was the father that a lot of us never had.
That's a fact.
And I can honestly say that. And he always truly had an open door policy. Like, I could go downtown and walk into Mayor Berry's office.
Damn.
You know, and he knew never forgot a face.
Right.
He knew who you were. He knew who your parents were. You know, and he had time to talk to you. He would make time.
No doubt.
If he did.
No doubt.
And strangely, one of my biggest influences is a guy by the name of Steve Fuller. He's passed now. He came up over at Southeast.
Okay. I know that. I know that.
Steve Fuller back then had. I mean, he was just, you know, he was a few years older than us, but he was just always on point with making the city better.
Right.
And he was into real estate. So, you know, he was at that time he was talking about purchasing property and, you know, getting, you know, being able to rent out to people that were less fortunate for a cheaper rent. He was talking about that stuff back then. And we talking about mid 80s. Wow. We were kids. And I still remember these conversations he would have with us. So those two guys, Mayor Berry and a guy by the name of Steve Fuller, which I don't have any pictures of. I wish I had some pictures of Steve Fuller. I can't remember the year he passed, but it was hurtful. But yeah, that guy really impacted my life and the way I thought about things.
No doubt. You know, when I think about, you know, what you have going on, especially, man, the, you know, your platform with the DC Decades, man, you know, of course, you know, the fashion. I gotta, in which we go get into all that. Gotta shout it, gotta shout it out. You know what I'm saying? You know, when I think back, man, did you ever realize, like, you know, that these opportunities, man, that you have, you know, that you were able to obtain, man, through hard work and dedication, man? Were these things ever like a vision when you were young? You know,
not when I was young. We love fashion. You know, I don't even have an answer to why we got into fashion the way we did. We always had to be fresh. And I do know that I can attribute it to the older guys in our neighborhoods. They always had it on, man, whether it was dress up or dress down.
Right.
You know, they whatever they had on, it was neat, it was clean. You know, we saw the labels they had on, and back then it was Azad. It was Azar Lacoste. It was Azar Lacoste. So we knew that gator. We knew that alligator.
Yes, sir.
From the socks,
to
the shorts, to the pants, to the.
So hold on. I gotta stop you because you know, like I said, you're the OG. You're the OG. You about 6-7 years older than me. So take me back, man. You know, growing up here in DC, I remember seeing the Izod. I remember seeing, breeches. I remember seeing these fashions, man, but I don't remember when they actually hit DC. You know, so take me back, take the people back, man. When did these fashions become, very prevalent in the DC area, man?
Okay, well, you mentioned breeches. I'm gonna get to that in a minute after I finish with Lacoste. So I couldn't, when I would ask my mother to get me something from Azar Lacoste, I couldn't get it because she couldn't afford it. So what my mother did do each weekend, every Saturday, this was our Saturday trip. She would take us up to, I have a sister that has passed now, but we used to go up to, she used to take us up to Bethesda and go up to consignment shops in Bethesda. And she would always tell us, we're going to get you all your school clothes from up here because the rich people that live in Rockville and Bethesda would always take their clothes that, they got too big for their kids. I'm sorry, too small for their kids. They would take them there. And I mean, you couldn't tell me nothing. I thought, hey, look, I didn't know nothing about no secondhand back then. I was like, damn, I'm getting something. And it was nice. I felt like I could compete with the older guys that was wearing this stuff. So I could put it on. So we would go. And so from that point on, we just, that was the thing to do. The dress, that's what identified you. It made you feel like you were part of the in crowd back then. We were too young to really understand that, but we knew it felt good when somebody would say, "Oh, that looks sweet on you," man. So I like how you hooked that up. You know what I mean? So back then, it was easy it was pretty much easy for us to hook something up because as long as it matched. Everything had to be coordinated.
Of course.
Of course. So that's how we got onto that. And then Britches, that you mentioned, was in Georgetown. So once we found out about Georgetown, we heard about what stores to go to. And Britches, we started in 1967. I was born in 1971, so Britches was one of those stores that we had to, if you got something from Britches, you were considered the man, what I mean? Like you wore Britches rugby and they had this hat, which, was just out of this world. You had a Britches hat and you felt like you, like what could I compare that to? I can compare that to some red bottoms for
that I know the hat you talk about. That hat go around on eBay for like $600, man.
I mean, it's a classic. It's a classic. You know what I mean? It was a suede baseball cap, pretty much. It was the thing to have, and it came in all colors. So back then it was just so many different stores that we could go to, and the tennis shoes and the fashion was just. And Georgetown was the mecca for the fashion. Everything you wanted, you could get in Georgetown back then. So it was like we didn't have a need for it. Was malls. We had Landover Mall that we used to go to, and then you had the shops at F Street down. But Georgetown was the place to be. And it was a hangout as well. It wasn't just going shopping. You were gonna meet some see some folks down there, and just hang out.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So basically, this love for fashion, man, it kind of started when you was a young man, just seeing the fly brothers and sisters, man. Back in the day, man. Like I see. I go on your page, man, and it really takes me back to being a young kid, seeing the brothers pull up in the 300 ZXs and the, you know what I'm saying, like on Georgia Avenue or Haynes Point, man. So, just being, because it's some young viewers watching, and just describe to them, man, what the city was like, man. Back in the 1980s, man, because I feel like the OGs like yourself, man. you guys are still preserving the culture, man. And you know, that's why one of the reasons I love your page. I got introduced to you through the brother. He has a page on Metropolis. That's how I got.
That's New York based page. Yeah,
exactly. And then I got turned on to you, and my mind was just blown, man. So this, you know, to the young people, man, who's not familiar with Washington D.C. during the 80s and 90s, man, just talk about that a little bit, man. What was it like just being a young? Because I was a child, but you was a teenager / grown man. So just talk, you know, expound on it a little bit, man. What was life like?
Well, the difference back then, it was more unity per se. I, for one, when I got a little older, in my teens, I didn't actually stay in my neighborhood. I knew I had family, and I knew so many people. I was able to wander
right
in each quadrant of the city, pretty much, and I took advantage of that.
Hell yeah!
But I knew where my home was. It was Uptown for life. When I say that, I really mean that. So my Uptown homies, you know, they're always in my heart. You know, and we were close knit. So when you went to the junior high school, you had homeroom class. All of us get in there, and as soon as we get to homeroom, see, you know, we weren't as sensitive as these, you know, the younger people now.
All right, I think I know where you about to go with this one. Go ahead. Come on, let's go.
As soon as it be 7:45 in the morning,
they about to start find your ass. Let me stop.
You better not have everything better be right.
Yeah, man.
Let's put it that way. You're from the top to bottom, because somebody was going in. Yeah, it was going in on you. And I'm talking about Joan and cutting you up.
Yeah.
Like, and you had to have tough skin. Because some of those things, you know, everybody couldn't afford everything.
Right.
You know, if you came in there and you had some coal in your eye, or a book in your eye, or something that you just wasn't aware of, you got caught off guard.
Yeah.
It was like this every day.
Right.
And sometimes a fight would happen because of that. But most times, you know, it was just laughs. You know, it was all love. You know what I mean? We talk about each other, join each other out, you know, and then keep it moving. And, you know, it was unity. It was like, you know, nobody was getting shot or nobody was getting stabbed. You was going to get a fight, you know, and that was what it went at the time. That was the 3 o'clock. Sometimes it wouldn't make it to 3 o'clock, but most times everybody knew who was getting ready to fight at 3 o'clock.
Oh yeah. You know no doubt.
So that's all you had to be concerned about, you know. And we weren't addicted to any substances back then. Where I always mention that's a serious difference between us and now. We weren't smoking. Cigarettes, weed, reefer. We called it reefer back then. We wasn't smoking the boat. You know, you had a few of us
that love boat.
Turned out, you know what I mean? But most of us, we were too vain.
Yeah.
We were too vain to even smell like it. You know what I mean? And we were afraid of our parents. I don't care what we were doing out in the street, but when we walked through that door, we did not play with our parents. You know what I mean? So it's, you know, those things, you know, that's what makes the difference. I feel now it's lost. And like I said before, we had a village in the neighborhood, you know, so if your parents didn't know what you were doing, somebody was going to know what you were doing. And we looked out for each other. Like we had no shame. Like, I'm not going to allow my homie to do something stupid back then. You know, I'm going to say something to him, you know, whether he listen or not, you know, I would expect him to do the same for me. And that's how it was. You know, even with the relationships with the guy, we were young, but we had sense. You know, we knew right from wrong, and we kept each other accountable. We were accountable for each other. So I just don't think it's that much of that going on now. And one of the things is because I feel like there's no resources, and the substance abuse is more serious than I think people believe it is. You know, smoking weed, you know, people just say, oh man, that's just weed. Nah, you know, because some of that stuff, you don't know what's in it. You know,
I'm trying to tell people that all the time, man.
You know, it's just a different day. They're putting all kinds of chemicals, you know, in it that affect affect how you think. You know, so it's like a young person now getting addicted to that kind of substance. I just feel like it's crash and burn.
Right.
So yeah, that was a major difference back then. And we just had fun. You know, every day was fun. We weren't concerned about being homeless. You know, some of the youth now even you know, I mean, you have a home to, you know, and they don't have parents. You know, at least I had one parent. So think about the young person that doesn't have a parent at all. You know,
no, that's a fact.
You know, so it's a lot going on that you know, it's not a quick fix. It's not a quick fix. So, you know, I always say, man, whatever we can do, you know, if we can even pull one of them and get one of them under our wing, it's a win-win, because that one might be, you know, somebody that's respected by his peers, his or her peers, you know. So
no doubt. So look, you know, being that you know you're an OG, man, you know, could you like, do you remember, man, when like crack like hit the area, man, hit the DC area, man?
Absolutely.
Like, what was it like, man, to just to be playing with your friends and being around family members, and then you know, these same people, a lot of these same people just, you know, become strangers, man. Like, you know, talk about that, you know, in depth, if you don't mind, man. Like, what was it like? Because a lot of us, we see the movies, we hear the stories, you know, we read the books, man, but you were actually old enough to remember the transformation of the city. Well, so talk about that a little bit, man.
Well, technically, crack hit DC in 1985. I didn't really get in touch with it until like late 80s, summer of 86. I was all back then. It was so much of it. You were being offered. Yeah, like.
What you mean? Explain that.
So being offered.
Some people may not understand or misinterpret what you're saying. So break that down.
Well, I definitely don't want them to misinterpret. I want you to understand this is how it was. You were being offered a package, pretty much, as a youngin'. And it wasn't because the older guys didn't care about you. They wanted to see you get money. They wanted to see you, that in their minds, that was them putting you on, giving you a resource for financial stability. Now, did you hear me?
No, I got you. I mean, a lot of people may not understand that.
Okay.
You know?
This was, don't mistake that these guys were just, you know, thinking that, oh, well, you know, I want to get this young guy in trouble, or I just want to ravage our community. This was their way. The money was coming so easily. You know, they just felt like this was the way that they were taking care of us in the community. Okay. Not thinking about the impact of addiction at the time. So that's hindsight, of course. Now, at this
you know what, man? That's crazy that you say that. And please don't forget your train of thought, because you know, every time I talk to you, man, this is why I had to interview. Because every time I talk to you, and me here, you know, I feel like I'm a very intelligent brother, man. But I never looked at it like that. As far as what you just said, man, these brothers, you know, they weren't thinking about the ramifications of, you know,
at all. Not at all. That's why you get so many now. That's why you get so many now that are still around. They are thinking in hindsight, what did I do? And they're really genuinely, sincerely hurt behind all the things that it did, because they were part of they became part of the system that was trying to destroy us in our community. But at the time, underdeveloped brain, you got to think, these guys, we were 14, 15, these guys were 18 and 19.
Right.
You know, so you got to think that they're, you know, scientifically, a full-grown man's brain is not developed until the age of 25, like fully developed. Right. So, you know, you got millions of dollars. You're making thousands of dollars a day at 18 years old. I mean, what do you expect?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like you're not paying no taxes on this money. You know, it's just money that you got in shoe boxes under the bed.
Yeah, because you knew, growing up, man, like, you know, it was a different, you know, because when I came up, man, and I graduated high school in the mid 90s. Right. So pretty much all the main players, man, were pretty much gone by that time, man.
Absolutely.
So I didn't know of any hustlers that was, you know, like young kids that was getting money like Rayful and Tony, like those, you know, the big players, the Michael Freys. I don't. None of my friends. I knew guys that was getting money.
No doubt.
Make no mistake about it. But they wasn't getting it like the guys that you grew up with. So talk to me about, you know, just knowing some of these brothers, man. The Fat Rodneys, you know what I'm saying. You know, some of these major players, man. Yeah. You know, like what was it like, man, to know? Just for an example, man, like a Fat Rodney, man. Did you ever get a chance to meet like Michael Frey?
No.
You know, so
you see how
about some of these legends. Yeah.
You see how we're talking? That's how we talk back then. We were the kids.
Right.
And they were just, all we saw was Michael Frey was a totally different animal, period. Like his presence, I've still yet to see a presence like Michael Frey. Like Frey could be, I can't even explain it.
No, I get it.
His presence was so strong, and his energy. I
feel like a darkness. I hate to cut you off, but I feel like we still have a darkness over the city from his death. Like
it did.
It changed when he passed, and maybe you see it differently. You know, maybe people see it differently, but it just seemed like that shook up the city. It changed the city forever.
It did, because he was. That's the true ambassador. He was holding. He was holding so many things tight within the city in each quadrant, and he knew all of the major players had so much respect for him. You know, I don't care who you name, man. Rayful, of course. Everybody had respect for Frey because he was just a man's man. He was the. I mean, he was the. If Michael Frey would have chosen another career path, he would probably be a senator. You know, because he just had that kind of power over his people. You know, he cared about the community. He did whatever he could do to make sure everyone was involved. You know, and any beef that he found out about at the time that he knew would affect the bottom line. The bottom line was the money. He didn't play around with that. So like he would step in, right? You know, and it's a lot of things that he did that stopped so many wars from happening, because DC was the murder capital back then, but it could have been much worse if we didn't have someone like Frey, because you know, you hear about some of the things that he did, but there's so much stuff that he did do that you just don't hear about as much. But you know, some of the older guys in his age group can tell you exactly you know, what he did. He was instrumental in so many things, but of course he was in an illegal business. Right. So, you know, society is gonna say, man, this is the bad guy. Right. But we knew in the communities this was another like Mary Berry figure that was instrumental in our growing up process. So, you know, he cared. Right. He actually cared, but he was doing illegal business. It's a slippery slope. You know, because you know the people are gonna love you. Right. You know, but once the law enforcement gets involved, and then you got people that are not honorable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it could be people that he was taking care of, but they can't handle it.
Right.
You know, they can't handle the business they chose, so they become dishonorable. You know, with law enforcement in the streets, all over, and then once it gets to that point, it's out of control.
No doubt.
And that's how Frey ended up losing his life. You know, so but he's honestly a godly figure in the District of Columbia.
He's immortal. He's an immortal figure, man.
Exactly. So
he's definitely been like immortalized in Washington D.C. Not even just Washington D.C. I've heard his name mentioned on records from some of the top rappers.
Oh yeah, he was, he had friends everywhere. Comrades, New York City, the L.A. He had a name everywhere. People knew about him. He was just that kind of person. And anyone who I've never honestly heard anyone say anything bad about Frey. Know what I mean? But anyone that says anything bad about Frey, I have to question that person.
Right.
I've heard it, but this guy's presence was. I mean, is an energy that I just can't explain. I still never have met a figure like this person.
You're not the first person. Like real talk, you're not the first person that said that. Like I've heard many others have said the same thing about this brother, man. So I had to, when I have brothers like yourself, man, who was actually old enough. Like I remember being a kid seeing him, and I never got a chance to talk to him or never was, I'm a child. But to see people like yourself, man, who was old enough to be in certain rooms with him and talk to him,
Absolutely.
So I had to expound on that, man. So look, let's move along a little bit. So, I remember we was talking maybe a couple of weeks ago, and you told me, and I never knew this, man. Maybe it was not even a couple of weeks ago, but you were shot, I believe, in like 1991 or 92.
December 22nd, 92.
Yeah, talk about that, man, because that was, was that like a change, like a change in
definitely
like a turning point in your life, man. Like if you don't mind, explain like that situation, man, because when I look at the type of brother that you are, I just don't see you being in how you can be in that type of situation with something. I know anybody. It's open season for any. It could be open season for anybody, but nobody's exempt. But just knowing you, and I feel like you're honorable brother. You know what I'm saying? Like what actually transpired with that situation?
Me, once, like I said earlier, I had access to go to other quadrants in the city, which a lot of us didn't do back then. Like if we were from a certain block, where we stayed on that block, you know what I mean? But I wanted to go get the money from everywhere. That's just who I was. And my cousins, this side of my father's side of the family, my cousins, we had a crew over in Southeast back then, early 90s, and we were just crazy. I mean, hanging over Potomac Gardens, Waller Place, Southeast, so
Valley Green, and
that whole, it was up there every day in the circle.
That's my side.
And back then, we had access to all the weapons we wanted, and we just felt untouchable. At that time, when you that age, you just feel like you thriving off the fear.
Right.
And we was just wilding back then, and I did some stuff that I'm thinking, it's not gonna come back on me. Nobody gonna jump out there like that, So back then, I got one. It's always one. There's both. He was younger than me at the time, and came up on me because I had done something, so he was retaliating.
Right.
And he caught me slipping, came up behind me. I mean, if somebody chooses to come up behind you, could be outside. It doesn't matter. Like you say,
got the drop on you.
And I was with my other cousin, came up behind me, and all I remember, I turned around like this because I heard him. You feel somebody?
Mm-hmm.
Turned around, I heard gunshots. I woke up in the hospital. Now I found out that my cousin died. My cousin didn't make it. He killed my cousin that was with me that day. And I woke up in DC General Hospital, and they told me, because I couldn't talk. At first, I remember when the doctor told me that we're waiting for this this highly respected surgeon to come through tomorrow, whatever. So they say, if you make it through the night, because they didn't think I was going to make it through the night.
Where exactly did you get shot?
I got shot right back here behind my ear in the head area, and it came out in the back part of my neck. And but it hit my spinal cord, so I was paralyzed. So they said, you're probably not gonna make it through the night. Okay, so my family was in. That's what they were telling everybody. So I made it through the night. The surgeon came and he said, we're gonna do this and that. We gotta wait for this.
Hold on, we gotta slow it down. This is a lot, because me and you, we have never had this conversation about this, and I was saving it for this interview.
Okay.
So you're not able to talk. You're in a hospital bed. You're not able to talk, but you hear them telling you that you're not going to make it through the night.
Right.
Not being able to talk, not being able to move. I suppose you're not able to move as well. I assume you're not able to move.
I could blink.
Okay.
They would ask me to blink for yes, once for yes and twice for no.
Right. So you're cognizant of what's going on. What is going through your mind at this point? Take me back, man, because I don't know how often you think about this situation, but take me back to what was going on, what's going on in your mind at this time.
Well, I was confused. I didn't know what happened. I mean, they had to tell me what happened to me because I didn't feel it. I didn't feel myself. I didn't know I got shot, in other words. So, I was like, what happened? I'm thinking to myself, what happened? And they told me, then, my mother told me, my sister was there, and, they were like, and that's when the doctors, they would keep going back and forth talking to the doctors, and the doctors would come in and say, okay, well, the next day said, you made it through the night. That's really good, but you possibly won't be walking again.
Wow. So
I was 21. So I was like, all right, this is the hand I've been dealt. This is how I am. That's the kind of person I was. All right, I'm like, so I was in a give up type phase. All right, I'm just going to be in a wheelchair if I come out of this. So I had to trach, I was going each day. I was in DC General. I had, they had to give me the tracheotomy. Tracheotomy. They put a halo on my head. If you don't know what the halo is, my neck was broke. My neck was broke, so I had that on my head. They had to keep flipping me so I wouldn't get back sores. Right. I had pneumonia in the hospital. So I was really sick.
All this time you was at DC General.
Yeah, I was really sick for a while I was at DC General, and I started healing. My health was getting better. I could breathe on my, they had me on a ventilator. So once I was able to breathe on my own, they saw that I was getting stronger, better over time. And that's when they transferred me from DC General to National Rehabilitation Hospital. That's over there by Washington Hospital Center in Northeast. So I was in there. They got
by the VA.
Yeah, they sent me over there in January. Still had the halo on, still couldn't move. Couldn't talk. And once I got over there, they had me in the ICU unit for about a month. Still trying to see what was going to happen. They just didn't know what was going to happen with me because it was still so much swelling and my neck was broke. But they took care of me, and I got better and better and better. So once I gained my voice back and I could talk, I was able to tell the doctors how I was feeling.
Right.
And I felt pain, but not as much as I couldn't feel pretty much everywhere, but I could feel pain in some places. I could still feel pain in my neck, but I couldn't feel anywhere else really. Like with that trach situation. They had to pull it out and clean it and stuff like this. So I could feel that. It was like pressure. And I just got better. I was in the hospital the entire time for a year. Yeah. So long story short, I had a physical therapist that believed in me. That she just did not believe that. I guess by the way I looked, or what I would look at her when she was talking to me, she didn't believe that I was, a quitter. Right. And
now, let me ask this, real quick. When you were in the hospital, you mentioned how at one time you had your thought process was like, man, it ain't gonna get any better. When did you start to feel like you're getting mentally stronger? Like, do you feel like you was just getting mentally stronger? What took place during that rehab process that that allowed you to start to think more positive about this situation?
The halo coming off. So when my neck healed and they took the halo off, I felt better. I felt more positive about my progress. I said, okay, so, because I thought I was going to be in that halo. Right. Nobody ever told me I wasn't. Nobody told me that this thing was going to come off. Right. I didn't know any better. I had this thing on my head the rest of my life. So when they took the halo off and they showed me a picture of myself, it gave me inspiration. So I had cursed it because the nurses used to take me downstairs to physical therapy while I had the halo on. I wouldn't do anything. Okay. I would cuss them out and tell them, take me back up, get me the fuck back upstairs. I don't want, you keep fucking asking me to do something I can't do. Yeah. I couldn't move. So once they took the halo off, I started, the first thing that moved was my left foot. Right. So once they saw, they said, I was having tremors. Okay. So spasms. So, and then they said, okay, well, the swelling, and each time my swelling would go down more, I was moving more. So because first initially I was quadriplegic, and then they said, okay, well, you got some movement, you might be a paraplegic, blah, blah. So that gave me hope.
Yeah, quadriplegic, that's when, from the neck down.
Right. Quadriplegic, you can't move anything.
That's like what Curtis Mayfield and Kristen Reed.
Yeah, absolutely. So when stuff started moving, it just inspired me, and I turned into a different animal. I said, every day I woke up and said, I'm gonna walk again. And I would tell because there was some other homies in there that was in the wheelchairs that was in there longer than me, and said, man, I'm walking out of here. Right. I started getting inspired and going down to physical therapy, blah, 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 doing everything they told me to do. And I just, each day was motivational for me, once I got stronger. And then, it was like a Rocky. You can hear the Rocky music,
what they call it? You believe in that term, mind over matter.
And that's why I know, that's real. It's once I put my mind to, because you could accept that. You could say, if the doctor tells you you're not gonna walk again, you could accept it and just say, you know what, that's it. And initially I was like that, but once I started seeing myself being able to move, and each time it was the swelling that was keeping. Because I didn't know what was going to happen after the swelling went down to my neck. So once that swelling the more the swelling went down, the more I was able to move. And it just inspired me. And when I got to the point where I could stand up, because they had to teach me how to walk again, actually like a baby. So they was teaching me how to walk again, teaching me I had to have speech therapy, because my speech was messed up. Just they were doing the in-house things that they do. Man, I walked out of that hospital at the end of 1993 on a cane.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Because that kind of segue you know, about that kind of segue with what we about to talk about next, and because I remember, you know, as I got the opportunity to talk more with you, and you know, we have some really great conversation. I was watching a video. Of when the brother Bennie Lee passed away. That was in 1994, and wow. So when I saw you on that video, that was only a year after you being out of rehab.
That was that was November 94.
And I would have never known, you know, looking at you back then, I would have never known, man. So, you know, before we even, you know, get into that subject, man, you know, after you got out of the hospital, man, what was your mind like, man? Do you feel like, were you like Superman, man? Because, you know, that is a crippling experience. I can't relate, but I can only imagine, man.
Man, it was reflection time. It was, you know, because coming out of that era in DC, you know, it's only a couple of 2 or 3 ways you can go out.
That's a fact.
Go out dead, you get some time, or you get shot up, you know, or something like that. You go run into one of them walls. You know. So that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
So I had to think about that. I had to take that and say, you know what? That's what happened to me. I need to take note. I need to learn from that. And I did, you know, so at that point, after that, I was always work. So I didn't have a problem getting a job or anything like that. So I went to work. You know, I went and signed up for vocational rehab. So, you know, it's like when you got to the hospital, you know, you still healing and stuff. You know, I had to go to physical therapy, still had to go to outpatient.
Okay.
So I had to get it, you know, I got a job through vocational rehab government service, DC government services. And I was going to work. And I slipped back. Like in 95. Because it was, you know, I still had 1 foot in and 1 foot out, and I had
so used to that fast money.
Man, listen, it was just, you know what I mean. So I still had access, right. And so I ended up doing a stint, going back and forth to over at Sam's place in Trinidad, right off of Montello Avenue.
Exactly. I literally just left there earlier.
It was a gold mine.
Yeah, I was on Penn Ave.
Yeah, it was a gold mine.
Yeah,
it was too what we call too sweet.
Nah, my grandmother lived on Neal Street back then.
Yeah. So back then it was you know, my man Roy Cobb, you know,
with them hands.
So you know, rest his soul, you know, he was at the bottom of the street, you know, and talk
about Roy Cobb a little bit, though,
man,
because I've been hearing about this name. I've been hearing about Roy Cobb before I even met you.
Okay.
What was this brother like, man?
Roy was
I've been hearing this name for about 30 years, man. Like, who is this brother?
Roy was a no play type guy. If he loved you, he loved you. But even if he loved you, he'll smack the shit out you. You know what I mean? Like Roy was a unique character. Let me just put it that way. He just didn't play, but he was before his time. I consider Roy before his time. He was you know, he was a muscle type dude. He wasn't gonna allow you to get away with nothing. And he loved his neighborhood. He loved his community. So if you tried to come and infiltrate his community, you was gonna have to see him. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? He was that type of guy. But
he was from the Trinidad area.
Trinidad. Mm-hmm. Okay. He got, you know, him and it was 4 brothers.
The Cobb brothers.
Yeah. So they, you know, they were just tight. That whole Trinidad, I love Trinidad. You know, I love my homies from Trinidad. They were just tight. You know what I mean? So Roy was that type of guy. And that's what I said when I came down there. I already knew Roy. But when he saw me come down there, he knew what was going on because, you know, I had a connection that he knew that I knew too. He said, well, you make sure you stay your ass up the street. And I respected that. Right. I wasn't going to play with Roy. You know, I don't care.
It was boundaries. It was boundaries.
You know what I'm saying? I just want to, you know what I'm saying? So back then, you know, that's how we were. We respected the homies, you know what I mean? Especially ones that we knew was, you know, it wasn't no middle ground. You know, it was either you gonna do this or I'm gonna see you. You know what I mean? So even if you were like that, you know, you felt like, you know, you had those people that you respected, you know, at the end of the day. And that's how it worked. You know, that's how it worked back then. But of course, some people, you know, push the buttons. And that's why, you know, those enemies rose, you know, that's why you started getting into those neighborhood beefs and stuff like that.
How did Roy pass, you know?
It was the guy that killed Roy wasn't even from DC. You know, it was you know, I don't want to say names, but
I mean, you gotta go into detail.
The guys that got Roy killed, you know, they had a little crew, and they had to get Roy out of the way. Let's put it that way. And they got this guy that he was from Alabama or somewhere. I can't even remember where he was from, but he was a killer. And he caught Roy. He caught him. And you know, that's the way it was back then. You know,
this happened at 19 what?
90, might have been 98. I could be wrong, but it was like around that time, 97 or 98. Wow. Somewhere around that time. Yeah, I would have to look. But yeah, that was hurtful. But you know, back then, we would hope nothing happened, but we know the road. We knew when somebody was going to go out like that. Put it that way. And when you mentioned Benny, that was one person that surprised me.
Yeah, let's talk about this. So this is the fall of 1994. I remember this. I was coming out of high school.
Right.
And I remember reading this article on the Washington Post. No, not matter of fact, I remember seeing the news. Like, I remember the day that happened, and I was like, "This is not real. This is impossible for something like this to happen." So, of course, it was just played throughout the entire week. I remember reading about it in the Washington Post, and to my surprise, like, this situation actually took place. I was going to, it was this program that was downtown that I had to go near the police station. So I remember just seeing reporters and stuff out there. That's when it really hit me, like, this is actually real, you know? So take me back, man. Like, talk to me about this brother, man, and what you think really happened, man, because there's a lot of different conflicting stories. There's a lot of different documentaries, different news medias have printed different things, man. But you was a friend and you knew this brother. So, you know, talk about the brother, Bennie Lee Lawson a little bit.
Bennie was brilliant, first off. Again, you know, I was on the other side of town most of the time. So I didn't get to spend as much time with Bennie. Me and Bennie reconnected again at UDC.
Now, what do you mean by that? You was on the other side of
town? I was, you know, southeast, northeast.
Oh, you was on, okay. Oh, yeah, so you stayed on southeast.
And stuff like that. So
okay,
we reconnected again at UDC in our night class. And I saw Bennie in math class, and he was laughing at me in math class because I'm dumb as bricks in math, okay? I know how to add.
Right.
You know, and subtract.
Right.
You know, I know the basics, right? So Bennie was brilliant, and Bennie had a good business sense because his father was in the business, businessman. And when Bennie saw me in class, man, he said, man, because I failed the test, and I showed it to Bennie, and I was like, man, hey, man, you know, we got to figure something out, you know, like, you know, I know you know this shit. So he agreed to tutor me. Okay. You know, I said, all right, man, look, whatever I can do, homie, just make sure, man, I get through this class. I had failed. I was in that class was math something. I forget the name of the actual class, but so he'd come over the house. Like we would leave class and he'd come over the house and man stay up about an hour with me, man, and work on the shit that we learned that night. And so Benny was going through some shit at the time. My mother.
Now, did he ever share any of the?
He would tell me what was going on. He wouldn't tell me everything because he knew what not to tell me because I was going to discourage him.
Now, what you mean? Like when you say he was going through some shit, like
as far as cases, he was, he had caught a weed charge. It wasn't no serious shit back then.
Okay.
But law enforcement was on his ass for some shit, and he wouldn't tell me exactly what it was, but I know that because my mother was a practicing criminal defense lawyer at the time, and she was helping. Yeah, she was helping.
Mom was like a Claire Huxtable.
Yeah, she was helping. She was helping the community, the neighborhood,
right.
homies at the time. Yeah, so and that's all she liked to do. You know what I'm saying? So I put Benny. I said, look, man, my mother, man, she ain't gonna charge you shit for real. You know what I'm saying? Just throw her a couple of dollars, man. She gonna get you because she be knowing that, ain't now we talk.
Right.
I was like, man, yeah. So he got my mother had got him out of some stuff, and then the streets was talking. Something had happened, and the streets was talking. And what I mean by that is, I knew that Benny was involved in some murders, right? And I said, and so I approached him, and this was long before he did what he did. So I approached him, and he was like, man, I ain't tripping off. This how he talk. I'm not tripping off that shit, man. It's good. Blah, 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 whatever, right? So I didn't press him out. It's some regrets I have.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I
guess to you, he didn't seem too worried about it.
No, he wasn't. And that's it. That was his nature. He was a calm natured person.
Laid back.
Didn't talk much at all. And yeah, he was just, he didn't have that. That's why I was saying it was a surprise what he did. But I know Benny, this is what I tell people all the time. It's some people that make decisions, okay, personally, that I'm not going to do no time.
Right.
Because we were coming up, my family on my father's side, that side of the family I was coming up with, didn't believe in if we got caught doing something, and if we got caught up and we was able to shoot, that's what we were going to do. You understand what I'm saying? Like if the police, we were going to shoot at the police. This is that young, dumb brain, okay, back then. You know what I'm saying? So it's some people that make decisions that they're not going to jail. Okay? And they're not going to rat nobody out either. So if you make that kind of decision, what do you think is going to happen, Malak? If you get squeezed.
Yeah. You go try to try to nip that situation in the bud, by any means necessary.
That's what Benny did.
Without compromising, who you are as a man, and without compromising, what you as far as your place in your community, the
Benny came over. He came over my house the night before for tutoring. Did what he did with me for about an hour. Gave my mother a kiss. Says, I'm gonna holler at you in class tomorrow. Told me he was gonna holler at me in class tomorrow. Next day come, I turn on the news later on that evening. Bennie Lee Lawson shot up the police headquarters. So you see, I can't romanticize this story any more than what it was.
Exactly. Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to talk to him about that. I didn't get a chance to even predict that this was going to happen.
You kind of regret like not prying a little bit more.
Absolutely. Because I know if I'd have pressed him out, that he would have came clean what was going on, and he didn't do that. Knowing me the way that I know him, he didn't do that because he knew I would have been able to stop him. Now, I would probably be the only one that would have been able to stop him from doing that. And he didn't want that. He didn't want it to be stopped. He already had made the decision of what he was going to do.
Now, to those who not that familiar with the situation, you know, the brother Bennie Lee Lawson, you know, he went into the police district, you know, precinct on Indiana Avenue. And he killed, I believe, three law enforcement officers.
And 3 officers, and I think one was injured. One was
injured. So, you know, to add a little, you know, to give a little context to what actually took place, you know, what led up to that situation, you know, without going into too many details. I know the situation is almost 30 years ago.
Well, you know, we didn't consider ourselves, you know how LA has gangs, of course, or Chicago, wherever, you know, we didn't consider ourselves gangs per se. You know, we just were the homies hanging with each other.
Right.
From around the same way.
Because you know the reason why I'm asking that, because when you watch, you know, documentaries, you know, they try to paint this story, or they try to sensationalize that story. And you know, being that you were a brother that was close to that situation, you know, I would rather hear this from you than hear this from, you know, the white media, because I know how they gonna do. I know how they can twist shit up.
Yeah, and if the first thing they're gonna do is make it look like it was this crew, right? The First and Kennedy Street crew.
And that was, by the way, I was in high school around that time. I was in Coolidge High School.
Oh, you were at Coolidge, right?
I was in Coolidge, so I remember that I used to walk every day, like on Kennedy Street, First Kennedy, like we every day going past the bowl and all that, like going to Philip. Rudolph used to play basketball at Rudolph Elementary School. Absolutely. So this situation hits home to me because I remember.
You familiar?
Yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday.
So back when in DC was very unique as far as how the players operated. We were all pretty much independent contractors. You understand what I mean? When it came to doing the things that we were doing, we were independent contractors. We could get a package from somebody and we might owe that person.
Right.
We hit that person off, and that's what it was. It wasn't per se that we were working for somebody, or we were part of this gang that we all did. You know, everybody was pretty much on their own, but when it was time,
you had organizations, but then you had what you're talking about.
Exactly, and that's how
everybody. I don't. You know, I hear what you're saying. And I get it, but I think some of the audience may be thinking that everybody was like that.
No, not everybody.
You actually did have organizations.
Yeah.
You know that moved a certain way.
Even with that, it still was. Let's say the person that was respected at the top of that organization still understood when another homie was doing his own thing. It wasn't like if that homie got a plug on his own, that the head of the organization was going to be like, oh nah man, you can't do this. It wasn't like that. I'm just being honest with you. You know, so whoever said it was like that or saying it's like that, they weren't there.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Because it was like nobody had a hold on somebody per se in that manner. You know, so, but when it was time for the homies to get together to do something, and that something involved a violent act, they came together. You would come together, even if it was a fight. We became a crew that was going to jump you, or you know what I mean. If it was the gunplay involved, it was us against them. You know, so that was the way that was back then. So nobody had this big boss. You know, once you get those names start ringing, like Rayful.
I was just about to say, because
once those names start ringing,
right.
He didn't want that. Trust me, he'll tell you himself. Yeah. He didn't want his name to start ringing to make it look like he was this big boss. Back then, you know, you were trying to stay under the radar.
Exactly.
Versus bragging.
But the media, they needed them headlines. They needed to sell newspapers.
So you become hot.
Yeah.
You become hot. Once that person become hot, it's over for you. It's just a matter of time.
It's a matter. Yeah. It's not a matter of if, just when.
It was a matter. Once your name started ringing, it was over. You can count your days. You know what I mean? So that was the difference in that type. Versus the Larry Hoover type situation.
Like with the GDs and all that. I get it, man. And the reason would just frustrate me with that, I remember, I don't remember the name of that documentary or whatever, but I remember watching it.
I know. I've seen them all.
It was like I seen like maybe 2 or 3, but one really stood out. And I just did not like the way that, like you said, how they romanticized that situation. Because me being a young teenager, I remember being on Kennedy Street, and I don't remember anything going on like they were saying. Like I felt safe. I don't remember shooters and gang activity just all over the place. Like I felt, that was the way I used to go to school every day, and I didn't feel threatened. So again, you guys are older than us, so I don't know, what I'm saying, everything that took place. But I didn't get that type of energy.
Because it wasn't.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, yo, was I living in, another, world or something like what? Like
it was just the way the media portrays what happens, and that's why I always laugh when I hear Donald Trump. Some things Donald Trump said was true, but he just didn't know how to say it.
Right. He couldn't articulate himself. Right.
You know what I mean? But it's a thin line, because everybody knew who was going to go. Like if you went to a certain block, you knew who was going to go. It might be 3 or 4 dudes. Them 3 or 4 dudes, man, going to war. Versus might be 20 of them.
Oh, I see where you're getting at.
You understand what I'm saying?
You lost me for a second, but I'm back on. I get it.
See what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's how it was.
Like these particular guys they were about that. They was really, but to make it seem like it was this big organization, and when I saw that, I'm like, come on, man. Like seriously.
That's why I wanted to break that down to you. And people need to know that, because if we don't tell it, that's why I consider what we do, we preserve the culture. When I say preserve the culture, I mean all around. Illegal, the good, bad, and ugly.
No doubt.
So that was that type of situation.
Okay.
And Benny, man, listen. Like I said, man, that's my only regret, not pressing the issue, but. I came up, I was raised not to fear death. And, death is a part of life. And, any of us can go any day. You know what I mean? So I was good with that. Once I, they caught me in the barbershop. I don't know who told them. me and Benny relationship, but they caught me in the barbershop the next day down there.
Oh, when the news reporter.
Yeah, they caught me.
Oh, because I knew that was like on Kennedy Street, but I didn't. I'm wondering, like, how ironic that they were able to link up with somebody that was close to Benny, and it was you out of all people.
They do their job. They do their job, man. That's when I knew that these jokers don't be playing. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't even know all the details yet when I had the interview. So it was like, and I was good with what Benny decided to do, because I knew, nobody wants to see anyone get killed or hurt, violently like that. But I felt like he was the kind of person, if he felt like that was his only way out of whatever situation he might have been in, I'm good.
He was placed in an awkward situation, man. A lot of people can say, a lot of people can say what they would or wouldn't do, man, until you in that situation.
Absolutely. And I love the dude then. I love him now. I every day I think about Benny every day, honestly, because it's like what I think about is because I know he would be so proud of what I'm doing now.
No doubt.
He was just a proud person. He would be so happy when I learned something. Like if he would teach me this math problem, and I actually learned it from him. I mean, this dude, man, was like jubilant. He was really happy about stuff like that. So I know if he was here now, he would be so happy to see me married, especially, and because he would always talk about me, with the women and shit. So, he wouldn't believe I was married, first of all, but I miss that guy, man.
That's crazy, man. So look, let's move. Let's fast forward. Talk about what you got going on now. So, a few years back, man, you wrote a book, man.
Yeah.
You wrote a book, man, and being from the DC area, man, and just knowing all the things that you've been through, what inspired you to write? First of all, give the name of the book. Give us the name of the book and what inspired you to write this book.
Well, the first book I wrote was I Now Pronounce You Single and Happy, and I wrote that with a co-author that was a friend of mine from back in the day, and the book, what inspired me to write that book was in a relationship I had with this woman, and she just went bananas on me. She was really insecure.
Also, it reminded me of that when reading that book. She kind of reminded me of that movie that had Martin Lawrence in it. Thin line between love and hate. Like reading that
in a real life situation like that.
I was getting those type of vibes from it.
So she was stalking.
So I mean, am I right or wrong?
Nah, you're right. And I was doing everything I could do to stop it. I mean, she had started affecting my job and everything. So I was like, I got arrested fucking with her. She had came to my house, and I lived in a quiet neighborhood. So one night she had came to my house, and I didn't let her in, and she was yelling outside, banging on the door, cussing and shit like that. And the neighbors the police ended up coming.
Right.
When the police, this is why I don't fuck with, and not all of them, 'cause I have some friends that work for the DC Police Department,
right,
MPD, but I don't fuck with them. I don't fuck with MPD because some of them are some shiesty motherfuckers. Just straight up, because they came to my house and she sat out there. It was two guys. She sat out there and told them I was a drug dealer and I had drugs and guns in the house. So once they did, they opened the door, asked me could they come in. I said, fuck no. For what? You going to remove her from my front? They didn't do that. They wanted to believe what she said. And I'm thinking, okay, her titties hanging out. She got on some dress, titties hanging out.
And
you know,
it was male police officers.
Some bitch niggas. You know what I'm saying? I was like, all right, this is what I'm dealing with right here. So I was like, nah. And I just closed the door on them. So I had noticed, because she left, I had noticed they sitting out front in the police car. I didn't know what they were doing at the time. They were out there for about an hour. These jokers got an emergency search warrant for my house. They came back up there with the paper, knocked on the door and said, we got a warrant to come in here.
So they didn't have one when they showed up initially?
They got an emergency search warrant to come in my house. Okay? Came in there. Got nothing in the house, but I do have guns in the basement in a safe. My guns were in the safe.
Now this time you're living in Washington, D.C., Maryland?
Yeah, so you know, at this time, this was 2003. No, I'm sorry. I'm tripping. It was 2012. So, you know, the gun laws, you couldn't have a gun. You wasn't supposed to really have a gun. You couldn't have a permit in the house, especially out of the house, you know. So they came in and somehow my safe wasn't locked. I didn't have the safe locked, you know, for reasons. Like, you know, if I wanted to be able to get to my gun.
Easy access, yeah. You won't be stumbling around trying to look for shit. Them motherfuckers right up on your ass.
Motherfuckers go in the safe and got my gun.
We ain't doing that.
Come back upstairs and put me in handcuffs. So I go to Central Cell that night. Got it rain the next morning, and I had me 2 gun charges. Now the difference with having the guns in the house and outside the house, lucky me.
The felony and misdemeanor.
It's a misdemeanor. Even both. I ain't had the guns were clean. You know what I'm saying? That was something that, you know, you would have to worry about or something like that. Like, so that was good. Right. And that's what inspired me to write the book, because I wanted the people to know that you could, because I had sworn to myself after that I was going to be single the rest of my life. I'm not.
That shit traumatized you.
Yeah, that was it.
Now, how long were you involved with this young lady?
Not even a year. It was about maybe 6 or 7 months.
When did you realize, like? Yeah. When did you start seeing signs, man? To help brothers out, man. To brothers that might, because a lot of brothers, man, you know what I'm saying? They kind of like we grow up, and I'm not trying to shit on ladies or anything, women, because brothers, we both got our issues as a community, men and women. But a lot of brothers, man, they see the red flags, man, but they grew up with a lot of women that share the same characteristics of the woman that you're talking about, so it's normal to them. I meet brothers all the time that they normalize. That's they normalize a certain behavior that should not be tolerated from, you know. So you know, to help brothers out, man, what were some of the signs that you saw, man, that made you like, you know, that you would tell it, that you would suggest to another brother, like, man, hey, you know, you should
popping up at your house. Popping up at your house, that's a definite red flag. Like, if you say I'm gonna call you back, if y'all on the phone,
pop up.
Right. Red flag. You know, that's an easy red flag to see.
Hold on, time out. So you would tell her I'm gonna call you would tell her I'm gonna call you back, and she would just show up at your house. Mm-hmm. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Trying to make it look like I had a unique situation at work. My boss was an old friend of mine, a girl I had known from when we were younger. We were good friends, but she happened to be my boss. And her husband, me and him were good friends.
Right.
And she
tried to make it look
like, she thought we had something going on, and she tried to make it, she got in contact with the husband to try to put it in his head to make it look like we were dealing with each other. Shit like that. You know, and then the calls over, like Oh, like she found out. I never gave her my work number. She got my work number and would call the phone like 50 times straight, stuff like that. So I was still dealing with it, a fool, because I was still dealing with that.
Yeah, because we know the crazy ones have the best.
But it was, it wasn't.
I'm just saying they do though. Like I've been in situations.
No, I know what you said.
Not as bad.
That's real.
Close.
That's real, but it wasn't
the best. They do got the best box.
It wasn't even that for me per se. It was like,
I'm speaking for myself. Well, maybe.
Nah, it's okay because it was. I thought I could fix it. I like, man, I was trying to prove to her because I wasn't this type of dude at this time. If she'd have caught me earlier in my life, yeah. But I wasn't this type of dude, and I was trying to constantly prove that. And I said, okay, she gonna get over this, because she had me fooled sometimes that she was really listening to me, and then she go right back. You know what I mean? And
so y'all would have like conversations about, let's try to fix
why
this.
Are you doing this? Yeah. Right. I'm not. You're not gonna catch me doing that because I'm not doing nothing. I really wasn't doing that. So but she didn't. And that was,
what a lot of people will ask you, like if she's, she's acting this way, what led you to stand,
that's what it was. And that's why I explained, I thought I could fix it.
Right. Okay.
I thought I could fix that, and I couldn't. And after all that was over, that's what inspired me to write a book saying basically, you can be married to being single. Be married, be happy. You don't have to have a relationship. Don't let nobody pressure you into a relationship, because that's what actually happened with that relationship. A mutual friend of ours put us together, and I was single, and I was all right when I was single. And a mutual friend of ours put us together, and it's the shit I get into. So I was like, that's what inspired that book. Right. And I co-authored it with a woman who had the same type of experience.
Was she older, younger?
A little older, but about a year older than me, a couple of years older than me. But she had the same experiences, and we could relate. And it gelled when we started writing. It gelled, and it worked out.
Now, how long? Now, talk about writing your first book. What's the process like? As far as getting published? Because I heard it can be. I talked to a couple of authors. I know a couple of authors, and they say, it could be one of the most grueling tasks, man. To put together.
It is what you make it. I'm disciplined in whatever I do. So there are people that say they want to write a book, right? You haven't written anything at all down. You have no organization. You got a family. Blah blah blah. You have to carve out. You have to carve out some time. So you have to make some sacrifices. So I carved out the time where we were going to Georgetown on Saturdays and Sundays, Georgetown Law Library. So Saturdays and Sundays we carved out a time and said we're gonna go up here for 4 hours or however long each Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, you was dedicated, man.
Got the book done in 45 days. We got the book done in 45 days because we did that. But if you don't, that's how you can. If you don't do something like that, that's how you can see 2-3 years go by.
Yeah, that's how most authors I talk to. That's how long it normally takes.
Exactly. So if you don't have, you have to carve out that time to be able to be dedicated to the project. And it was easy. It was easy because of that. That made it easier, and we bounced out ideas off of each other, and it just. Boom, we did it. And that's what I did a show. That book got me a show down at Listen Vision on Georgia Avenue. So I had a show based off the book. And I was doing that show for about a year, and me and that author fell out. My co-author fell out. So then I was doing the show on my own for a while. And then once the book got to the pinnacle, You know what I mean? I was just doing the shows. I was coming up with ideas of the show, and then I met my wife now, and she came on and started helping me produce the show. And then,
man, hold up. Slow down. I want to talk about this, man. Like, how did you meet your wife, man? Because I see you guys on. I mean, you speak very highly. I love to see black love, man. I'm in a relationship. I have a fiance, beautiful fiance.
Right, no doubt.
And I love to hear brothers. I love black love. I love to hear brothers, talk about their women, man. I think it's great for our community as a whole, man. So just talk about like, your wife, man. She's and conversations that I've had with you, she has played a very pivotal role in, a lot in some of the things that you have going. I don't know to what extent, but just go back, just talk about how did you meet her?
So it was like the end of middle of 2014. Better do social media. We had a group. You remember those? Well, they still had the groups, but they don't seem like they exciting anymore like they used to be. But we had those Facebook groups, the private groups.
I heard of. I'm not.
Okay,
well, really big on Facebook though.
Yeah. So Facebook, you can have these groups, and it'll be a whole bunch of people that get in the groups, and everybody sharing stuff that you pretty much would get blocked if you say it on the regular timeline of Facebook. So they had these secret groups and private groups that you go in and pretty much go ham in.
You do your thing. You do your thing.
So yeah. So I met her in one of those groups. We just hit it off. Just communication like that. So that can happen for people that don't think.
Oh no, I'm not. Damn sure. Yeah. I mean, I met my old lady through a damn dating site. Like, I think they say 60% of relationships today come from
no doubt
dating sites. You know what I'm saying? So I know motherfuckers that can't get you. They keep meeting people the regular way, and they still can't get a relationship. So however you able to meet somebody is whatever. I don't judge.
No. So we became friends. We truly became worked on a friendship. And when she came to help me, she just was that type of person.
Right.
Still is. Like, she just jumps in. She just jumps in, whether it's something that she's not interested or interested in, she'll just jump in and help. And she was help. I needed the help at the time with that show to keep the show running. And because I was in a contract. And so she, jumped in, helped, help me produce the shows and stuff like that. So, we just, when we got together, we went through some stuff with other people, because I was the type of person, there's so many long stories and I don't know how much time you get, but I was, I was the type of person that would allow people to come and live with me.
Oh man, you was like,
man. That's the type of person I am. So I had let this young lady live with me.
Oh, a young lady?
Yeah. I had relations with the young lady. So
prior.
Oh, for prior, right? Okay. Prior, right? So it was a mess because
did your old lady, did she know of this woman?
Not at first. But she still wasn't. We were technically just still brand new, trying to transition from the friendship to a relationship. Man, but I wasn't.
I don't know what made you think. No offense. I don't know what made you think that was a good idea, brother.
It wasn't a good idea at all. It was stupidity. You know what I mean? So see, I can admit something like that. So when they found out, when that was found out, shit, the shit hit the fan.
Ooh.
I was putting, and then this person, because I really was looking out for this person. She was really.
No, I feel you. I get it, but
she was doing bad. I wasn't even interested.
I get it. It's just human nature.
Yeah, I wasn't interested in her anymore at all.
Right.
Even if
you actually felt sorry about her.
Yeah, she was doing bad. Yeah. She was doing real bad. You know what I mean? So, I looked out for her, and then she tried to make it look like it was more than it was, because obviously she had plans. Oh, you know what I mean? And then that's when, boom, like all hell broke loose. I went through
she gave you that ultimatum, like
I went through some shit, right? So me and the wife, long story short, me and the wife, after we got rid of her, got her out of my house, which wasn't easy, we ended up writing a book about that story together. So me and her wrote a book together, and that's how we both.
Who came up with that idea?
Well, did we come up with it mutually? I think we came up with it mutually because we was saying, because people knew what was going on, so we wanted to get the truth out, and that was our way to get the truth out. So we just wrote a book, right. And that's when we got into the self-publishing. And my wife she takes on a project and she learns everything. She researches everything and learns how to do it.
Now she's from the area.
Yeah. So that's when she got into. Well, after we wrote that book, she really got into the business and said, "You know what? We can do this. We can start our own self-publishing company."
Now, do you feel like that whole as you guys were writing that book together? Now talk about what's the name of that? Let the people know the name of that second book.
That was Labs. It was called Loser Ass Bitches.
Okay. Now, do you feel? Yeah, that's crazy. That's a wild name. Hey, do you? That's a wild ass name. Yeah. Hey, do you feel like that whole, you guys writing that book together? Do you feel like that was therapeutic to as far as that relationship?
Absolutely. Good question, because it was. It was. I felt better that the truth was out. She felt better. So people realized once the people that knew about the situation, what they thought they knew, they said, okay, now we in another side of the story. So, so of course you gonna have your people that betray you, turn their back on you, and don't believe. I don't, those people didn't need to be in your life in the first place.
No doubt.
But after that, that's what kicked off the Tariq Sphere Publishing Company. And then that's when we got into the self-publishing, and that's what kicked it off. Right.
So that is together. You and your wife, y'all have that together.
Absolutely.
That's dope. That's beautiful. Yeah. That's beautiful, man. That's rare, to my knowledge. I don't think I've ever heard a unique situation like that when it comes to publishing and hell, even when it comes to penning a book together. So that's definitely a very unique situation. So look, let's move forward.
Okay.
So again, I met you through the brother Macapolis, and through that, man, I have just. You done took me down a rabbit hole of just history, man, and things that I've known about, a lot of stuff that I've known about, and things that I was not privy to when it comes to, DC. So, talk about, talk about you being a DC ambassador, man. Cause that's what do you consider, first of all, it's a two-part question. Do you consider yourself a DC ambassador? And, what do you feel, what place do you hold as far as preserving the culture? How did you go about taking on that thing?
Because the Macapolis hookup, how I got connected to the Macapolis was because it's a New York based page. So Macapolis had did a segment for about 2 weeks on DC.
I remember that.
DC homies. So I noticed the page, and I saw some old pictures he had of some DC homies, and I saw some stuff that wasn't accurate. And I DM'd him. I sent him a message and said, "Oh, that didn't happen that way," or such and such, blah blah blah. And he really appreciated that because he wanted the information to be correct.
Yeah, that's kind of like that's like us from DC, right? Do a whole 2-week segment of New York.
Yeah,
he not gonna know all the details.
Absolutely. So, man, we hit it off. Oh man, we hit it off, and so he was once I started sending him some pictures that I had, and I started actually doing the write-up. So I would do the write-up and send it to him, and he would just, add a couple of things, and then so that extended that 2 weeks of DC he was doing to like 45 days, and he had some more content. Man, we hit it off, man, and he was so inspired by what I did. This was before my homie page, the DC Stamp page. This was before that.
Okay.
This was before the DC Stamp page. You know about that page, right?
Of course. Now, because I remember when Mecopolis, he said, yeah, and you need to check out. That's how I found out. He said, and also check out my homie DC Decades.
Right.
And at that time, your page was small, man. You didn't even have 1,000 followers, man, at that time.
This is what happened.
So talk about how it grew so quickly.
Well, that's what
man.
I'm gonna tell you. So he wanted me to do a DC page, and at the time, this was before COVID, and so people were moving around. Like I was just busy. I couldn't see myself really putting time onto doing the content for a page like this. And I knew it was work, so I just didn't do it. I didn't do it at the time, and then he was upset with me because DC Stamp popped up. So once the
he got a dope page too, though.
Yeah. So once the page popped up, he was like, he personally wasn't feeling it like he knew I could have conveyed it, and I said it's okay because he does have some stuff that's I think it's gonna work. DC Stamp don't give the comments. You have a special, unique way of giving us a commentary. So once COVID hit, and I said, I have some more time to, I said, I started finding more time to be able to do something like that, and I thought about it, and I said, there's still room for what I could do. And I did it. I came up with this is how the page started jumping, because I came up with different segments I was going to do. So the first segment that I noticed nobody else had done was paying homage to the guys who you knew had the hands. So that's where I started out. I started out with I can't remember what I called it, but I started out with a segment with doing highlighting guys that had the hands,
I remember that
neighborhoods from back in the day. So
that's when I heard about Joe Cobb.
Yeah, so that
was the first time I've heard his name, but that was the first time I've ever put the picture to the name. Because I remember hearing, like I said, going over my grandmother's house in Trinidad, I remember hearing his name back in the 90s.
Yeah.
But I never seen him.
And that's what drew and a lot of attention. But I'm gonna tell you about our DC homies. We are difficult. It's not as easy for me to get like New York. You see all them pictures that the New York pages and stuff.
Yeah, man.
Talk
about that.
They got pictures galore, man. Right? But our homies in DC, the older homies, even the ones that we know hold.
They act like you police or something. Because you
know they holding. They got this thing where, oh man, these jokers, man, it's gonna be hot. It's gonna be some
like
hot.
You police, like I said, they treat you like you're police. What you need pictures for?
And I just look, I can't do that but laugh. I understand it. Coming up like we did, but I'm like, man, you can't even talk to them.
The OG is something else, though, man. It's a new day, man. It's technology.
They think it's gonna start an investigation,
incriminating themselves. Yeah. What you need pictures? Hey, young, what you need pictures for, young? Like, come on, young.
So it's hard for us to get images, right? So I do the best I can with what I can get, and that's why I make sure I concentrate on the commentary more, because we don't have those images that to be able to really show, you know, and I feel blessed. I feel blessed.
You get some pictures, man.
I have getting right.
I was just about to say you selling you're being very modest right now because I've seen pictures on your page. I'm like, where did you when you had one a couple of weeks ago? I'm like, where did you get Busta Rhymes in Kenilworth?
Okay.
Where the heck?
Busta sent me. He the only one that has that picture. So, like, I'm gonna tell you how I'm friends with Busta because.
So you know Busta Rhymes?
Yeah, we talk. I got his phone number. So
we're gonna have to talk after this.
Yeah. So the Busta, I had before I started Decades Free Nostalgia. Before I started the clothing brand, I had I called it Decades Vintage Shop. Okay, so I started a page where I could, because I knew I had the plugs that I needed overseas. So I started a page where I knew I could get the vintage clothing, the pieces that we used to wear, you know, the gold tigers, you know, I mean, the holy grail of the Asics.
Of course.
I knew I could get them. So I started this page where I was going to put this stuff up and say, you know, I can get you this if you want to pay the price. I can get you this vintage item. So I did a page like that, and I called it Decades Vintage Shop. So that hit off overnight, Malak. You understand what I'm saying? Right. So like I had jokers, man. I was hooking people up. You know what I mean? And even Busta, Sadat X from Brand Nubian, I'm upset because Instagram kicked him off. Kicked him off. His page is gone, but Sadat X from Brand Nubian. I had Lil Boosie manager. I forget his name. Sean something. But Busta got onto it, and I got Busta a couple of things. And Busta was so happy and grateful, you know. And so he, you know, so he sent me. He said, "Man, I used to be." He was telling me how I used to be in the city. I said, "Nah, Busta, you wasn't hanging out no DC, man. Cut it out, man." So, you know what I'm saying? So he's like, "All right." So he sent me the picture to my phone. You know what I'm saying? So
I was like, you know he wasn't capping. He showed me picture him at Kenilworth.
Nah, not at all. And he had the old Sergio because he loved Sergio. He loved Valor Sergio sweatsuits. So I had got him one, and he was real happy about that. He gave it to his son because that's when Busta was still really, you know, he lost some weight. He couldn't fit it, so he gave it to his son. But he loved the page when it was Decades Vintage. He loved getting that stuff because he know our styles. He knows our styles. So he got both going on with him. He know New York style, but he loved DC styles. He loves how we did it. He knows the truth.
I was about to say, man, he know who started these trends.
People like him.
No, I'm asking. Matter of fact, I'm not going to say because I don't know, but do he know? My question to you, does he know?
He knows, Rich. Just like
started these trends.
Just like Sadat X. Sadat X just said I still have his post on my page where he was talking about DC and when he went to the Black Hole. Yeah. So there's a few of them that's going to tell the truth. You know what I mean? They were there. Yeah. You know what I mean? So yeah, but that's Busta. When Busta sent me that, I said, man, come on, man. Yeah, this
now do you still like, you know, now that you, and we about to talk about that next because you got the DC decade, you know, DC free nostalgia. How is it like balancing both of that? You know, both of those two different things.
I had to lay off of the vintage shop when COVID hit because when COVID hit, I started losing my contacts. You know, guys overseas, man, they just disappeared on me, you know. And then when I did talk to them, they would promise me something, and I didn't get it. You know what I mean? I'm still waiting on it.
Do you still have you been able to reconnect with some of those guys?
But the guy that was getting me the Asics, the Tigers, I did reconnect with him, and he had promised me a whole shipment. Like this guy promised me a whole shipment, and that was that was last March. Not last March, this March. That was in March, and I still, you know, it's October. So
that's a dope idea, man. And it kind of remind me, you know, the brother Macopolis, he was doing something like a little similar to that as well.
It's funny you said that because
I ain't gonna lie, I bought a Sergio suit from him for about $300, but it was one of them vintage, like original. This wasn't no remake. This was
the tag said made in Italy.
Yeah, I'm gonna rock that joint probably tomorrow. I'm gonna show y'all this suit that I bought two of them. Yeah. I've been waiting 6 months to wear this. It got the made in Italy.
That's the one. Yeah. That's the one who put me onto the plugs. Yeah. He put me onto the plug. This guy, he got connects out the ass, man. That's who put me on. You know, the plug. So that once I put me onto the plug, it was no different than back in the day. Okay. It's just it's a legal hustle. Yeah, you know, you get that plug, man. You work the plug. You know what I mean? That's
man, you a hustler. Hey, what he saying? Paid in full, man. You a hustler, motherfucker.
Yeah, brother. That's why I always tell people I can tell the difference. How jokers be talking about.
I thought I was a hustler, motherfucker. Shit.
But nowadays, everybody try to tell you they was getting it. This is the social media world, but you could tell the difference between a true hustler and because from back then to somebody who was just had access. So you had access. It was so plentiful.
Right.
You could just be a regular person.
Exactly. The difference. It's a difference.
Somebody give you something.
Versus being a go-getter, but having to go out there and get it.
My man.
Yeah.
And so you could tell the difference now.
Yeah.
Because you got to hustle now.
Yeah.
And social media helps, but it's still you got to still be able to hustle. You got to have 10 toes down.
Nah, man.
And that's why I respect you so much because I respect you so much because I can see it. Like, I respect your hustle. I mean, hustlers respect other hustlers because you'll show off the chain. Like, I be sitting back. How did this motherfucker get this person on the show? How did he do this? They be saying Tom Joyner the hardest working man in show business. I'm like, well, shit. He definitely the second runner up. You know what I mean?
I'm flattered, man. I'm truly flattered, man. As long as like I said, man, I had OGs like you growing up. I had OGs like yourself, man. That I just sat back. I was just quiet. Like I said, man, I ain't capping. I wasn't no big time dope dealer. Nothing. I just sat back, and just watched the OGs. I remember the Michael Freys. I remember the Fat Roddies. I remember all these guys, and I remember just being the fly on the wall, just soaking up the environment. So when I look at your page, man, it just takes me back to those times, man. It just, that time of the city, man, when the city had soul, man. So it's like I can't go a day without hopping on your page, man, to see what you're posting, man, because I love the way, like I said, man, I feel like you are, people say Tony Lewis Jr., but I have to say, man, you are like one of the true DC ambassadors, man, in every sense of the word, because I love what you got going.
I consider myself a curator.
No doubt.
That's what I like to call myself, a curator, because we actually, if we don't do it, who will? Because we actually have to preserve the culture, and that's why I got a lot of New York followers on my page, and I love the debates that we get into. It's healthy, Some of them get out of control, but I always say the pictures don't lie.
The pictures don't lie. I got into a couple of little facts on your page.
Once you provide an image, they have to try to turn their story around because I have yet to see.
Gotta wave the white flag.
I have yet to see them provide a picture or image of all this shit that y'all was claiming they was wearing or they started.
New Balance.
We don't even want to go there.
New Balance. Yo, stop it, man. Stop it. I heard Jim Jones talking about last week. I don't care what y'all DC like. Stop it.
He knew what he was doing. I said that's why I said I just believe. I posted. I said, man, I just think Jim Jones, he requires our attention sometimes.
They were not Bama's in New York was not wearing New Balance. They was not even wearing New Balance in the 90s.
But think about this, Malak.
What are they talking about?
If it wasn't for social media, they'll still be saying it today.
Show the pictures.
They'll still be
Show the pictures.
That's why, social media is a gift.
I mean, you can end it. You can, like you said, you can put it to rest. Show the pictures of 1987, 88, absolutely. 89, 91. Absolutely. Because we can show pictures all day. Even like I said, we was having this conversation on the phone a couple of days ago about the Air Force Ones. Yep. Show the pictures of guys in New York wearing Air Force Ones in 1985, 1986.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for them. I'm still waiting.
They can't. They know. I
know, man. I know it may seem frivolous to some people. They like, oh, what you guys? I'm just saying, man. Just stop making these false accusations, man.
The truth, it's nothing wrong. Just give credit where it's due, and that's where it's so important that we do that. Because if we don't, they'll just continue to rape the culture. I believe it began with Puffy. It began. He went to it was the whole Howard University thing. He's not the only one, but the whole Howard University thing back then, they saw it. They saw us. You know what I mean? And they took that shit and made it hot.
Herbie Love Bug. I ain't forget about you.
Yeah, they you know what I mean? And
shout out to Herbie Love. I'm supposed to be doing an interview with him.
Oh, yeah. That's what's up, man. I'm looking forward to that. But they did that. You know what I mean? It's okay. But we're here to say, just tell the truth. You know what I mean? It's okay. One thing about us is we have love. We automatically love. It's a lot of us that we just don't subscribe to that hate thing. We want to see Jokers fresh. Right. Jokers winning, man. We compliment. Like, what I'm saying? If New York started something, I'm gonna say New York started that. I'm not gonna try to take the credit knowing that we didn't and say we did that. Why? Mm-hmm. Why would I do that?
It ain't that serious. It ain't that serious. So look, man, you got the, I want to talk about the clothing line, man, because this is dope, man. Like how you even put this thing together, man. I think it's a very interesting story, man, and I would love you to share it, man, because just having this conversation and another one of our legendary conversations, man, you just telling me how you put it together, man. I feel like that inspired me as far as what I got going on, and I feel like it would inspire others, man. If you can, share, how did you come about, starting this whole, the Free Nostalgia clothing brand? Talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so again, the wife, she surprised me for my birthday. I was talking to her about my inspiration for doing it, and the brand is actually a tribute to the styles that we were wearing. We adopted, and I was explaining to a New York cat the other day that we adopted that the look that we came up with as far as the sporty look came from the tennis players. Okay, so Bijan Borg,
McEnroe,
these tennis players, Arthur Ashe,
Andre Agassi, and
the Fila,
the
Sergio Tacchini, the Head, the Elise, the Lecoq Sportif. All these brands is where that was available in Georgetown. Mm-hmm. The store is called Racket and Jaw. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it was running. It was running and tennis for us. Mm-hmm. So the running was Moss Brown, Bill Rogers, Saucony.
Ooh, I used to call him Saucony.
A lot of people still do. This was where our styles came from back then. So that's where that fresh, it was a fresh look. It was clean white tennis shoes, the socks, the shorts, pants, sweatsuits, and things like that. That's where that look came from. Nobody else and I know this. Nobody else was doing that look as far as in the hood. It was a preppy, and then we mixed that in with the preppy.
Right.
Look, that's where Britches came in at, because Britches was a preppy look.
Look,
and then came Ralph, and then came Ralph Lauren.
Now I want to piggyback off before you say anything. I just want to piggyback. I want to piggyback on what you just said, because I interviewed Mark Gordon, and that's the homie. I talk to him
no doubt
all the time. Mark Gordon from Levert.
Okay.
He was telling me that in 1986, the first place they played before Casanova, I think this one, like right before their album came out, their first time playing and performing in DC was at the old Chapter 3.
Okay.
He said they went to perform at Chapter 3, and he seen all the hustlers, and they had the Sergio Tacchini sweatsuits and all of that, and he said that's where they went on the next album cover. If you look at the album cover,
I remember.
It's cooling.
I remember
that white album color. They got the Sergio Tacchini sweatsuits on with the sneakers. That's where they got that from when they came to DC, and they seen like our flavor. So they took that back to Cleveland, and they said the brothers in Cleveland was dressing like that. So that's just, I had to share.
That's where that look came from. And like I said at the beginning, the origin to me was Azar Lacoste, and that was still that tennis look. That was still that preppy tennis look. The putting our sweater over and tying our sweater in the front and having it over our shoulders. That was our look. New York wasn't doing that. Nobody, Philly wasn't doing that. LA wasn't. That's what we were doing in the hood, right? So fast forward, it was so many. These designers were out at the same time. This thing about all these designers were out at the same time, and they all were winning at the same time, right? Because they had so many. They were just designing so much stuff. We had so much stuff to choose from. You know what I mean? And so those designs were still stuck in my head, in the way things fit us and how it looked on us. Right. We just fell in love with those looks. And what inspired Decades Free Nostalgia was exactly what it says it is. It's free nostalgia, because my mission is to continue reviving these looks that we had, and for people to, you can see, if you see somebody in that outfit, it's free nostalgia,
right,
from these decades. I can try to go as far as back to the 60s if I can. 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. I want to, the sky's the limit, and I just feel like I have so much to work with and so many ideas, and that's what the creativity is just booming, because I just want to add a hint of the trends now with that, and still have that same nostalgic feel to it. Right. So that's what inspired it. You know what I mean? So and my wife surprised me a couple of years ago with a birthday gift of a sketch of something I had explained to her that I wanted to do. And it was the first sketch I had of actually seeing what I could do with this. And it took me 2 more years to actually put that in production.
Wow. And
then boom, that's when the first piece came out, after when I was able to do that. So that's how that happened.
Man, so now, like I said, man, every time I turn around, man, I'm seeing new pieces, man. You had, a lot of the pieces are limited,
Yeah, and I want to do collections. I don't want to do fast fashion per se, because I want these collections to be cherished.
Right.
And of course, later on down the line, if something is just in demand, I probably could reproduce it. But at this time, I just want these special collections so people can really be proud of this time capsule. Right. It's a small quantity of this time capsule that you can enjoy, and later on, if I get to the point where I just want to, dibble and dab with a whole bunch of different things at one time, I'll see how that works. But I love the way we roll out.
You got a like I said, we got a lot of legendary urban clothing designs here in the city, from
no doubt.
We Are One, Madness.
Oh man.
Soviato, I can go on.
Oh man, they go down to TP, and that's why
exactly.
And those are all love, man. Have so much respect for all of them because, and especially me being from uptown, of course I'm gonna be biased towards Madness. It's Madness, man. That's our uptown thing. But honestly, I just feel like Madness were trailblazers.
Right.
They were trailblazers because the quality and what they put out, of course the bucket hat is the classic, iconic Madness piece. I mean, the hat, everybody had the hat with the letters. We had our names on them, Go to Kingston Men,
the slouch socks.
It was a beautiful time, and was
you a slouch sock dude?
I wore slouch socks, but I got a picture. Matter of fact, that I had posted. I had some on with the Jordan 2s. I got it on the page. I had the Jordan 2 when I first got the Jordan 2s.
Hate on the Jordan 2s, man. I love them. Those in my top 5. I love the Jordan 2s. I get a lot of flack. I get a lot of flack for putting the Jordan 2s. Oh yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I get a lot of flack.
You got to be crazy.
Yeah.
Man, see, everybody, everything ain't for everybody.
Exactly. You gotta.
That's all you can say.
That's what I be telling some people, man. If you don't know how, just say you don't know how to. Just say you don't know how to. You know what I'm saying? How to rock it. Just say that.
Yeah, man.
Don't try to hate on me or my style because you can't pull it off.
Those were still my favorites, man. Still my favorites.
But what I wanted to say is, like I said, man, we have a lot of great urban designers here in the city. Have you got an opportunity to talk with these brothers and got a chance to build with some of them since you doing your thing? You're part of the movement now.
Well, I don't know if I'm part of it in their eyes yet. I'm just gonna be honest. I mean the promotion.
I can't tell me about you couldn't tell by the promotion because I look at every day, man. You just have different models and different people wearing that, and I don't see that as consistent on their pages, So it looks like, and this is what I want to say, man. Because I don't think a lot of the fans know this, but it looked like you've been doing this for like 20 years, and I was surprised that you told me that you have only really been doing this thing for how long?
In less than a year. We actually got the first thing in production, first product in production. But that's why I say, mate, in DC, you really have to pay your dues, and I just don't feel like I've paid my dues yet in the eyes of the pioneers. And I know my time will come. Whether they're talking about it now, or my goal is that everybody knows about it. That's one of my goals. Like I said, I just said on the other day, every time I find out somebody hasn't heard of Decades Free Nostalgia, I feel like I'm not hustling. I need to hustle a little harder.
Hey man, I saw Bishop Knowles, man.
Hey man, Bishop.
Yo, hold on. How did you link with Bishop Knowles, man?
Well, I had been to his
a lot of people forget Bishop Knowles from the city, man. He from the area.
I was introduced to him, and he had a church over by Landover.
Landover
Station, and I had gone to him like 3 or 4 times. I was introduced to him the first time, and we hit it off because he fly. He fly. He has always put it on.
That's a true DC OG, man.
So once Bishop liked that white thing. He liked it, and I sent it to him, and man, he put it on, and I knew he was going to look like that in it.
He killed it, man. He killed it.
I knew he was going to look like that in it. I could envision him because of the way it's cut. I could envision him in that, and he did it, man. He put that thing on.
He killed it.
You know what I mean? So I was just so grateful that he did that, and that he liked it. You know what I mean?
It's on his page.
Yeah, yeah. Trust me, I shared it. Yeah, I shared it, yeah. And I just, man, I said I knew he was going to look like it. There's nothing better than, you know, being able to design something and see somebody in it, and I just felt that he was going to look that way in it, and he did it. He knew how to. He had it zipped up. The way I just knew he was going to do that, because he a fly dude, man. You know what I mean? He puts it on, dress up or dress down. Yeah. And that's how all of us used to do. You know what I mean? So I
still do. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. You can still do it. We can still do it. You know. So that was dope, man. I saw that the other day, man, and I feel like, you know, it's going to be a lot of great things, man, coming out of this brand, man. I love how you attach the movement, man, as far as preserving the culture of DC with this actual brand. I feel like that's genius in itself, man. And I feel like a lot of other brands, that's one of the things that separates you. You know, like the museum have their art thing that they do as far as how they coach. And you have your thing.
I make sure, like, you know, I use my page to make sure that everybody is winning. You know, I posted the museum. I posted DDTP. I posted Madness. I make sure that we all, because see, I'm a person that I was there during this era where, you know, we made some mistakes.
Right.
You're supposed to learn from your mistakes. I just feel like it's things that we could have did different, and we would have been in a better position as a whole than we are now. You know what I mean? So I just make sure I act on that, you know, and that's why I give love to everybody. Like museum, like it's funny. One post with the museum guys, my one you like, the cream what's that? I had put that together on a post and put it with the museum, those off-white Fila that they collaborated with.
I wanted to have both of them, man.
Because it was a perfect look. And I said, man, y'all need to put this together. If y'all finding this something difficult for this to hook up with, hey, here you go right here. So yeah, I mean, that's just gonna always be me. You know what I mean? I'm just that type of person. So
now you also, man, you know, you also stir up a little controversy every now and then, you know. How is that? How you know? How do you balance having a platform, you know, such as yours, man, a brand, but you don't want to compromise your integrity as a man? Because, you know, a lot of times we look at these brands and we want to market our stuff to everybody, but you also have a platform and you have a voice, and there's certain things that you see that you know that isn't right. So, you know, talk about how do you go about like balance that, man, to the point where it doesn't affect your bottom line.
Okay. Truth, as we all know, let me fix this seat. As we all know, truth hurts, but truth is king. So you know, people might get emotional about hearing the truth about something.
Right.
But I always choose to live in the truth, because it's like you just said, you know, you're compromising. You should never compromise yourself to make someone else happy.
Right. Because
if they can't be happy with what you are coming with, your truth might not be their truth. So you can find out what their truth is, and you can come to a happy medium. If you feel like this is your truth, that's fine. But there are some things that are just true. The sun is going to come up tomorrow. We have known this since we've been on the planet, that the sun is a nighttime and a daytime. It's going to get dark at night. It's going to get light in the day. That's a truth. So if you have someone saying, oh man, that's a conspiracy theory that the sun is going to come up, it might not come up tomorrow, then you're dealing with something that's kind of ridiculous. So what I do is when I speak on something, I make sure that it's healthy. I try to, it's been so many times that I've had to revamp the way I say something. I'll write it and then say it to myself. And that sound, and like, if I say this, it's going to throw off my point.
Right.
So I don't want to throw off my point. So let me say this in this way. I'm going to still make my point the way I want to make it, but I'm going to just say it in a different way. So people won't focus on getting thrown off of the main point, if you feel what I'm saying.
Okay.
So there are some people, you have to deal in reality. The reality is we have become watered down in society. Like we were talking about earlier, you had to have thick skin to even walk in your junior high school homeroom.
Right.
But it was all in fun.
Right.
You know what I mean? And honestly, I never even ran into somebody that really cried. Like, oh man, they're talking about me. I never experienced that. So it's not easy for us to deal with because we just look like, you a little bitch, man.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not easy for us to deal with it because we just we can't relate to that because we're not used to it. But some people, I just feel like they, now everything is a sensitive area, and that's fine, but it still has nothing to do with the truth.
Right.
Your emotions aren't the truth. You understand what I'm saying? You can get emotional about something, but that doesn't mean it's going to change the truth.
You feel that, do you feel like, people are ignoring certain agendas that are being pushed? You feel like, the people that make excuses for a lot of the emasculation of, men, black men,
it's a
and the hyper masculine behavior that we're seeing from our women and the feminine energy that we're seeing from our men. Do you what's your whole take on that?
Well, being from DC, now I spoke on this. We came from an era, and people in DC that grew up in DC are very unique. And me being in other towns and cities and states, I see differences in how we look at things and how they look at things. So you have a whole world out here that looks at something different than people from the nation's
capital.
We don't give a fuck, Malak. We don't give a fuck.
Right.
If you want to dress up as a woman and call yourself a woman or whatever, that's your business. We don't care. We're not going to judge you. We might laugh at you or talk about you, but at the end of the day, we would give you a hug at the same time. You understand? Now, what has happened is once you begin to deny our struggles and try to replace our struggles with your fight, because see, evolution, there is no such thing as evolution without struggle.
I keep saying the same.
If you want society to evolve in what you consider evolving and into accepting who you choose to be, you're going to go through a struggle. There's no way you think we are still, as black people, we are still fighting for rights in this country.
Right.
So what the fuck makes you think that because you wake up and you decide you're a man and you decide to be a woman, that you're just going to skip over all the struggle? And then the other part of that is we're sitting here looking at women who create life. If we have known we came out of a woman and we know that we can visually see women creating life, what makes you think that we're going to accept you and you have the same biological tools that we have, okay? What makes you think that we're going to replace you for that woman and say that you're a woman?
Yeah, that's what it look like it's going.
Well, you can't.
It look like that's what they're trying to push.
That
you know.
If you
that's how I take it when you're telling me to accept you as who you are.
No,
I accept that you feel that you are that,
and that's okay.
But I personally,
I don't have. You can't make.
I don't accept that's who you are, because if I did, you know,
we got to look in the mirror and say, and deal with the reality that we are black every day.
Right.
And it might be some people in this world that don't like black people.
Can't change their mind.
We can't make them like us.
Nope.
Okay, so it's no different with that. Is some people that may not like men becoming women, and you can't make them like that, and that's where that ends.
I don't think you have to make people like black people, to be honest.
You can't. That's where that ends.
I just want a fair. I just want my rights. Don't prevent me from being able to provide for my family. You don't have to like me, but just respect me when you see me.
And that's where this has.
That's all I ask.
That's where this has become.
You know,
a shit show, for the lack of a better word, because once you go down, that's a slippery slope. That's a slippery slope, because once you start taking people's rights to, you know, these are innate rights. You know me, these are rights. You say, okay, right. You know, you start messing with, like you said, people's livelihood and, you know, how they feed their family, and all because of a gender situation. That's a slippery slope we going down, and honestly, you know, it's going to cause mayhem eventually. You know, that's where people become violent. You know, and we already live in a violent country.
Right.
You know, it's where you know, I just see violence at the end of the day with that, and I think, you know, it needs to stop. It needs to. We have, and I feel
it's disingenuous. To me, it just comes off being very disingenuous, because there's so many holes in this whole agenda, this whole analogy that they try to use.
It's so obvious that it's just being pushed. You know what I mean? And like Dave Chappelle, again, he's a homie.
And when the school,
so Dave Chappelle speaking, he's really just telling the truth about how he views that. He didn't say anything wrong. He had a friend. He has friends that are transgender.
But you know the funny.
So when you gotta make up something to have an argument, he wasn't even the right person. I can go find you a list of people that really fucking hate that. You know what I'm saying? That was the wrong one. That's why it seems that it's a losing battle.
Oh yeah. Oh, the people
gotta learn how to
when Netflix is telling you that if y'all want to walk out, see ya.
You gotta learn how to pick your battles.
Yeah.
And that was a battle that wasn't a good one for them. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying they shouldn't fight. I'm not saying that they shouldn't fight, but just you gotta choose your battles wisely, and that wasn't a wise one because he didn't say anything wrong. And if anybody evaluates, if this got to court somehow, a judge or the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court is going to evaluate what Dave Chappelle said, and they're going to come back and say, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Right. It wasn't malicious
at all, at all. You know, so you know that's how.
That's when you know an agenda is being pushed, because if it does not fit exactly the narrative that you're trying to push and paint, then you're showing hatred. You know, now and it's like, nah, we can't do that. We're not going to allow this group to bully people, you know.
Absolutely.
We're not going to allow them to push whatever, you know, push their like, because at the end of the day, people want to make it seem like it's hatred, but it's like we don't like these people. Certain people, like you said, they just have a problem with the alternative lifestyle. We all have different lifestyles. We all have different things that we like. Certain people like them, certain people don't. We just gotta.
We don't like people that. Some people don't like people that smoke cigarettes. Some people don't like. It's just going to always be dislikes and likes. And I mean, are we supposed to cry about each one of these things? No, that's what that called. That's why I said that's a slippery slope. Yeah, like we supposed to cry about everything and try to change the laws.
Everybody,
you know, it has to stop at some point. And I believe we're heading towards. I think their run might be cut short.
Me too. I feel the same way because the vocal minority, like the ones that's really the people have spoken.
Yeah.
We are siding with Dave.
Yeah,
but the media, you know, which is you know, it ran by Hollywood. They're still trying to paint these. You know, they still want to hold on to this stuff, but I'm like, and it's funny how the media work because the media can paint one thing, and the people and the actual story be a totally different, concept. You know, so. It's just interesting, man, seeing, you know, a platform like you touching on that because, you know, a lot of these other platforms, you know, a lot of these other brands, they didn't. And I get it. You know, they're bigger. They've been around for a while or whatever. But, you know, I just hope, you know, as you continue to grow, that you continue to speak out on certain things, man, because, you know, the way that you went about doing it, I like the way that you went about doing it because it wasn't with malice, man. You did it very eloquently. You know, I love the way how you articulate yourself, man, and I feel like, you know, it resonated with the people, man, and I also feel like that's going to make us love what you represent as far as the clothing line more.
I appreciate that. So, and it's like, you know, that's why I love being born and raised in the District of Columbia because when you begin to see how other places operate, right? Like you like, damn, you kind of feel like you can walk around with your head up high because, like, damn, you know, we don't get down. We ain't have to deal with it. This shit is minute. Like, why y'all even talking about that? You know, it doesn't affect us.
But that's how we are, man. Coming from DC, we come from I'm from the DC where if you wasn't from DC, you was a Bama.
Yeah.
Oh, that nigga, you Atlanta Bama. Oh, that Bama. Yeah. He one of them New York Bamas.
Yeah.
He one of them. He from Chicago. Oh, he a Bama.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
true.
That's the DC I'm from, man. Yeah. And I feel like, you know, we losing the soul of the city, man. We losing our identity.
Yeah.
You know, so it's great. It's great to see pages like yours, man. Platforms like yours, clothing, like that whole thing that you got going on, man. I love it. I love it.
I appreciate that, bro.
No doubt. Well, look, man, we've been going on almost 3 hours, man. This, I might have to make this a part 2. You know, this is, I told myself I retired from the 2-hour interviews, man, but I already knew once I get the brother on, man, we gonna have some shit to talk about.
I already knew it was gonna go down.
You know what I'm saying? So we covered a lot, man. I hope I didn't leave anything out, but if I did, man, you know, I would love to bring you back on for another interview. Maybe I could have my co-host. She was sick this evening. For those who probably wondering where she's at, and, you know, hopefully she gets better. But brother, it's been an honor to have you on, man.
Likewise, man. I truly appreciate you, and I tell you, you know, I've turned down some folks, but when I found out that I could get on here, man, with you, man, I said I got to do this because I love the way you operate, man. Your show, from the first time I saw it, man, like I just was, because I don't know if you noticed what I've been doing. I've been doing the Quiet Storm.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, I know everybody you get on here. Like, you know, you get Shirley Murdoch and people like that. I'm like, man, this, you know, man, I can feel that because I'm like, where have these people been, first of all? And then how did you get these people on here? Like, you know,
can't give them a plug.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And keep doing what you're doing, bro, because you are just as instrumental in the community, man, and it's a good feel. It's just a good feeling, man. And to see that these people are still around, and then you having these conversations with them, man. This dialogue.
No doubt, man. Yeah. Well, look, I'm honored. Coming from you, that means a lot, man. I know I'm headed in the right direction, man. Yeah, so I just feel like we just continue, continue to just build, and I love what you got going on, man. And I know it's gonna be successful, man, because you're a hustler. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Hey, look, man, I got to the day I'm gone, man. You got to. That's what I call living. It's some people have their vices. They travel, blah blah, overseas, and that. Look, man, I call it living, man. Building that generational wealth, man. It's like we are a family business at the end of the day. So, I want my son. I mean, we've created a monster. I got to look at that like that. He appreciates that quality and that retro look now. So, like, what I mean? So it's just, but for him to we keep him involved with everything we do. Sometimes we have assembly lines in here. Me, him, and the wife, and when we get these products together and stuff like that, he knows about teaching about finances and business credit and things like that.
Oh, so, definitely. I just got my daughter, just got her on her little debit card.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. So it makes a big difference. And, I just wanted him to be able to have things that I didn't, I wasn't privy to at the time when I was his age. So, It's definitely, man, that generational wealth is so important to us, and just to be able to see him be able to take over something that we created, that's winning for me. That's winning.
Well, look, man, it's been an honor. I can't say it enough, man. It's been an honor. I'm Malak Arif, man. I got DC ambassador, curator, author, clothing design. Just fashion guru, the homie, man, good dude all around, man. The one and only Mustafa Tariq, man. It's been a pleasure, bro.
Man, thank you so much, bro. Much love, bro. I appreciate you.
No doubt.
Thanks for having me.
Signing out, man. Y'all take care and have a good night.
Good night, man.
All right, brother.
Enjoy your weekend.
You do the same, brother.
All right, brother.